Welcome back to Frontier Echoes, where every whisper of the wind carries a forgotten tale of courage, destiny, and the strange ways the frontier binds lives together. Today's story begins deep in Apache territory, where a single act of bravery from a quiet cowboy changed the path of two families and nearly started a war. Our tale starts with Colt Dawson, a drifting cowboy known across the plains for three things: he never backed down from trouble, he rode alone, and he never asked for thanks. He wasn't a hero, wasn't a gunslinger, wasn't searching for glory. He just moved from town to town, staying long enough to earn a meal, fix a fence, or break a few wild horses, then disappearing again. That morning, the sky was orange, the wind cool, and the ground still holding the night's dew when Colt rode through the thick pine forests near Red Rock Canyon, Apache land. He wasn't looking for trouble. He was simply trying to take a shortcut to the next settlement before noon. But fate had other plans. As Colt's horse took him deeper through the forest, the peaceful silence suddenly broke with a sound he'd never forget, a roar so deep it shook the ground, followed by a scream of pain powerful enough to stop a man's heart. Colt pulled the reins hard and listened. Another roar, closer. Then a shout, human this time. A desperate cry. Colt kicked his horse forward without thinking, branches slapping against his arms as he followed the noise. The forest opened into a small clearing, and there he saw it. A giant of a man, an Apache warrior built like a mountain, muscles carved like stone, was trapped in a huge iron bear trap, its metal teeth clamped deep into his leg. Blood dripped through the pine needles. The warrior's face twisted in fury and agony as he struggled to free himself. Standing before him, rising on hind legs with foam at its mouth, was a massive brown bear, furious, hungry, and ready to strike. The bear lunged. The Apache lifted his spear, but he couldn't move fast enough. He was seconds from death. Colt didn't think. He drew his rifle in one smooth motion, steadied his breath, and fired. The shot echoed through the trees, and the bear collapsed mid-lunge, its huge body falling inches from the trapped warrior. Silence followed, heavy, unreal. The Apache giant stared at Colt, chest heaving, pain carved into every line of his face. But his eyes burned with something more than pain. They burned with pride. Colt dismounted slowly, hands visible, not wanting to provoke a wounded warrior. "You're all right," Colt said calmly. "Let's get that trap open." The Apache looked at him with disbelief. No white man would risk his life to save him. None. "You, help me?" the giant asked, voice deep and rough. Colt knelt beside the trap. "If I don't, you'll bleed out." With a long piece of wood and all the strength in his arms, Colt forced the metal jaws apart. The trap opened with a loud snap, and the Apache groaned as he pulled his leg free. Blood rushed down his calf, but he held himself upright like a warrior who refused to show weakness. Colt tore his own shirt into strips and wrapped the wound tightly. "Press here," Colt said. The Apache did. For the first time, his expression softened, not with gratitude, but with respect. "You saved my life," the warrior said. Colt shrugged. "Seemed like the right thing." The Apache gave a slow nod. "I am Coda, son of Chief Red Elk. Remember this, cowboy, a warrior never forgets a life debt." Colt helped him onto his horse and walked alongside, guiding him to the edge of the forest where Apache territory grew thicker. "Your people nearby?" Colt asked. Coda nodded. "They will find me." Colt was about to turn back when Coda caught his arm with a grip like iron. "Come with me. My father must know who saved his son." "I'm not looking for trouble," Colt said. Coda's deep laugh echoed through the trees. "You fear no trouble. I saw that today. My father must meet you." Colt hesitated, but something about the warrior's tone told him refusing wouldn't be wise. He followed. A few minutes later, a horn sounded in the distance. Then a rustle in the trees. One by one, Apache warriors stepped from the shadows with bows drawn, spears raised. Colt stopped cold as arrows aimed straight for his heart. Coda lifted his hand. "No! This man saved me. Lower your weapons." The warriors obeyed, though their eyes studied Colt with suspicion and curiosity. They escorted him through the forest to a vast Apache settlement hidden between cliffs and trees. Women worked skins by the fire. Children ran beside dogs. Warriors practiced spear throws. And in the center, in front of a large painted lodge, stood Chief Red Elk himself, tall, broad-shouldered, his hair streaked with silver, his presence dominating the entire camp. When he saw his son wounded, he rushed forward. "Koda!" "Father," Koda said, bowing slightly. "I am alive because of this man." The chief turned to Colt, eyes narrowing. He studied the cowboy from boots to hat, as if seeing through bone and soul. "You saved my son," he said at last. Colt nodded politely. "Anyone would've." "No," the chief replied firmly. "Not anyone." He placed a heavy hand on Colt's shoulder. "A man who saves the blood of a chief becomes part of his family. You are welcome in our village." Colt wasn't used to being welcomed anywhere. "I appreciate it, but I should be heading." "Stay," the chief interrupted. "Eat with us." Colt didn't want to insult the man, so he agreed. But what Colt didn't realize was that saving a chief's son was not a small matter. It carried consequences, responsibilities, and sometimes unexpected rewards. That night, the village gathered around a great fire. Meat roasted, drums beat, warriors told stories of battles, and Koda sat proudly beside his father, leg wrapped but spirit strong. The entire tribe celebrated Colt's bravery. Across the fire, he saw her. A young woman with long braids draped over her shoulders, her posture graceful, her eyes bright like dawn over canyon cliffs. She moved with quiet confidence as she served food and spoke softly with the elders. Colt couldn't look away. She noticed him too. Her gaze lingered for a moment, curious, shy, but warm. Koda leaned toward Colt. "That is Naira. My sister." Colt nearly choked on his drink. "Your sister?" Koda smirked. "Do not stare at her too long, cowboy. Many warriors want her hand." Colt swallowed. "Wasn't starin'. Just lookin' around." Koda laughed a deep, booming laugh. "You are not as subtle as you think." The night carried on, full of music and stories, but fate was still weaving something Colt did not yet understand. When dawn broke, Colt prepared to leave. He saddled his horse quietly, hoping to slip out without causing trouble. But as he tightened the saddle strap, a deep voice spoke behind him. "You leave without speaking to me?" Colt turned. Chief Red Elk stood like a statue carved from stone. "I didn't want to intrude longer than needed," Colt said. The chief stepped closer, eyes unreadable. "My son tells me you fought a bear to save him. And my people saw how your spirit burned bright during our feast." Colt rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm no hero, Chief. Just did what felt right." Red Elk nodded. "A man who saves another's life is brave. A man who does so without expecting reward is wise. And a man who carries such a strong heart," the chief paused, studying Colt deeply, "should not walk this world alone." Colt frowned. "Sir?" The chief's voice boomed across the clearing. "You shall marry my daughter." Colt nearly fell backward. "What?" The chief crossed his arms. "Do you refuse the honor?" "It ain't about honor," Colt said quickly. "I barely know her." "She knows you," the chief replied. "Naira told me she felt your spirit the moment she looked at you." Colt's heart thudded. "With respect, Chief, marriage ain't something you choose for me." The air grew still. Warriors turned their heads. Women paused in their chores. The entire village felt the tension. Red Elk stepped forward, his voice softer but unshakable. "You saved my son. You protected our bloodline. To us, that binds you to our family. My daughter is strong, kind, and wise. You would live well with her." Colt swallowed hard. This wasn't a request. This was tradition, binding, ancient, sacred. Naira appeared behind her father then, her eyes calm, her expression unreadable. She walked toward Colt slowly. If you refuse, my father will not be angry. Our people do not force the heart. But know this," her voice softened. "I felt something when I saw you. A peace. A strength. Perhaps it is destiny, perhaps not. But I am willing to walk the path if you are." Colt stared at her, so beautiful, so steady, so different from anyone he'd known. His life had always been lonely. Empty. Filled with long roads and longer nights. Could he stay? Could he build a life here? Could he marry the chief's daughter? Before he could answer, shouts echoed from the forest edge. Warriors rushed forward. Riders. Armed riders coming fast. Colt's blood ran cold. A group of outlaw hunters, men who hated the Apache, burst from the trees on horseback, firing shots into the air. They had followed the trail of the dead bear. They had seen the footprints. They believed an Apache warrior had killed one of their men last week. They wanted revenge. Arrows flew, bullets cracked, warriors raised shields and spears. Red Elk barked orders, trying to form a line of defense. Colt didn't hesitate. He grabbed his rifle, sprinted to the front, and took cover behind a fallen log. When the first outlaw came into view, Colt fired a clean shot, sending the rider tumbling from his horse. Another outlaw charged, aiming at Naira. Colt shifted, fired again, hitting the man's pistol clean out of his hand. The battle raged across the clearing, shouts, gunfire, and the thunder of hooves shaking the earth. Colt fought with fire in his blood. He moved to protect the chief, to shield the women, to defend the tribe that had welcomed him. When it was over, the outlaws lay defeated or fleeing. Warriors stood tall, cheering. Red Elk lifted Colt's arm high. "This man fought beside us as one of our own." The tribe roared. Colt breathed hard, chest pounding, but inside him something settled. Something unmistakable. Naira stepped close and placed her hand gently on his arm. "You did not fight for us," she whispered. "You fought with us." Colt looked into her dark, steady eyes, and finally understood. He belonged here. He turned to the chief. "If your offer still stands, I accept." Red Elk smiled a rare, proud smile. "Then today, we celebrate two things, the safety of our people, and the joining of two spirits." Naira's cheeks warmed, but her smile was soft, real, and filled with hope. Colt took her hand gently. "Well," he said with a shy grin, "guess I'm staying a while." Naira squeezed his hand. "No, cowboy. You are staying forever." And as the drums began to beat and the tribe gathered once more around the great fire, Colt Dawson realized he was no longer a lone rider on an empty trail. He was home. Thank you for riding with Frontier Echoes today. For more tales of wild courage, untamed love, and the spirit of the Old West, stay close. Like, subscribe, and keep your saddle ready. The Frontier has many more stories waiting.